to be holding a fairly substantial vote percentage even now. I'm only looking at the numbers now. As of now, AAP is leading in 27, Congress in 20, Akali is in only 7.
And Akali is a regional party which will be finished after this.
That's right. As Akali is a party of Punjab. They cannot afford to consistently lose elections. They will also have suffered their 4th consecutive defeat in Punjab. They would have lost 2017, 2014 before that, 2019, and this would be their 4th defeat.
The BJP just hit 100 in UP. 102 now for the BJP, down 28 leads from the last election. But the BJP, for what it's worth, in these initial leads, has just crossed the 3-digit mark. 102 leads for the BJP up against 67 leads for the SP. The SP up 38 seats from the last elections.
You know, the fact is that the BJP can afford, we must reiterate for our viewers, even lose 100 seats and still come back to power in UP. It would mean then our exit poll would go wrong, but it would mean the BJP would be in power. But these are early trends. Will the BJP now use the early momentum to go well ahead of its rivals is the question. Also, interestingly, AAP now almost double that of the nearest rival, the Congress. So the AAP clearly now is picking up momentum in Punjab. The closest contest that we are seeing at the moment is in Uttarakhand, where 20 is playing 19. This could go down to the wire in Uttarakhand. That's why you've got Bhupesh Baghel parked in a hotel there. In one hotel, Kailash Vijayvargiya in another. Then you've got DK Shivkumar in Goa parked in one hotel, and you've got Devendra Fadnavis in another. Any surprises so far coming?
In both the regions, in Garhwal it is 16 to 15, and in Kumaon it is, I think, 4:4.
So the closest
it's a close contest in both the regions.
How confident Rahul Srivastava was the BJP of Uttarakhand? Was it certain, or was there a nervousness given that you've changed 3 chief ministers in a year?
Raji, there was definitely nervousness in Uttarakhand, primarily because of the fact that you're changing chief ministers. You see, that's one region which we know has one of the highest unemployment rates in India. The food grain scheme is one element that the BJP was banking on. Also, what they were banking on, that the Prime Minister's image, Narendra Modi factor, will be much bigger player than the Dhami or other chief minister player. If they manage to win Uttarakhand, it will be largely because of a central push and Narendra Modi. Otherwise, there was definite jitters.
But the exit poll shows that. The exit poll done by Access My India for India Today shows that 31% of the voters who voted for the BJP in Uttarakhand said they did so because of the Prime Minister. So this is one scenario where you've got the Prime Minister carrying a state. It's been said that after 2019, in the states, he doesn't have the same ability to carry a state on his shoulders like he did at the center. But Uttarakhand could be that one example. It's not a Yogi Modi combine here. It's the Prime Minister, Rajdeep, carrying the state on his shoulders.
No, this is the story I told you. Uttar Pradesh is the only state where I believe the Prime Minister is
Captain Amrinder Singh is trailing.
That's and not surprising.
Captain Amrinder Singh is trailing.
You know, but
in Punjab, there is something important that we need to track.
Yes.
In the overall seats, the AAP is ahead 34 out of 64. But let's also remember that if you go region-wise, the least trends are coming from Malwa. We have only 17 trends from Malwa.
No, but look at what has happened in Malwa. AAP is leading in AAP is now 18 trends. AAP leading in 17, Congress in 1. Malwa is going to be, as some are saying, the Delhi of 2015. Ek tarfa. Badlav, change. You went anywhere in Malwa. From Patiala, you could go to Sangrur. Along the way, stop, have the best chole bhature, best dal makhani. Ask the person, kisko vote doge? Sir, is baar to jhadu ko denge. This was the mood that you could capture on the ground.
I hope you had some kulcha chola also.
Arey, there is a fantastic place in Patiala. Uska naam main bhul raha hu. Please, I'll remember it. Dal makhani to beat dal makhani. After that, sweet lassi. After that, ghar jaake so jao. In Goa, you do it with fish curry. In Punjab, your state, you do it with dal makhani, lassi and kulcha. Fantastic. No place like India when it comes to...
We'll have to get Rajdeep some breakfast very quickly.
Yes.
He's going to get
breakfast to my South Indian, meri idli aa jati hai. The moment the idli comes, I'm good. The South Indians know how to have a good breakfast.
The leads that we have from Uttar Pradesh at this moment show the BJP leading in 115 seats. The Samajwadi Party leading in 69. The BSP only at 2. The Congress at this moment hasn't opened its account even when it comes to leads. In Goa, you've got the Congress at 20, so if there's any hope for the Congress at this moment, it seems to come largely from Goa, where the Congress is hovering around the majority mark. That could change as the counting continues, but at this moment, they're at 20. The BJP at 14, the TMC, MGP at 4.
I just want...
look at Manipur, the BJP is leading in 18 seats of the 25 where the trends are coming in.
I just want Preeti to explain to our viewers Malwa. You know, let our viewers understand what is it about Malwa that Malwa could be, as I'm calling it, the Delhi of 2022, a complete sweep for the Aam Aadmi Party.
Who is the primary voter of the Aam Aadmi? If you're going to, if we have to make comparisons with Delhi, the primary voter of the Aam Aadmi Party, when you talk about the economic class, is the bottom denominator.
The smaller farmer.
What is Malwa? In Delhi, I'm talking about. Now, you translate and you make that comparison into Malwa. The glitz of those big farmlands that you see in most other parts of Punjab, in Malwa, you'll see a chunk of them with very small marginal land holdings. You'll see the big ones as well, and there are many of them. But largely, these are the farmers who have very marginal land holdings. Most of them, as you go into the villages of Malwa, Rajdeep, were the ones you would have seen who were at Singhu border, who spent a year in Singhu border. They've gone back, wearing it on their sleeves. If you go into those villages, the minute you enter, they'll say, "Yahan ke itne sare log the who had gone to the border to spend that 1 year in farm protest." There is already a massive sense of anti-establishment in the Malwa region. This is where also Bhagwant Mann comes from, Sangrur. This is where he's also fighting his seat, Dhuri, which is also right now in the Malwa region. So there is this massive sense of anti-establishment which already prevails there. The Aam Aadmi Party, not so much for the Aam Aadmi Party, it's also riding that wave of anti-establishment against the Congress, against, the Shiromani Akali Dal.
So it appears clearly that Malwa could be the propellant for a victory, along with Majha, where they are doing surprisingly well for the Aam Aadmi Party at the moment. So Punjab, we are clearly getting now a trend where the AAP is striding ahead of its rivals. 42 versus 18. You can almost reaching the 50 mark. And once you reach the 50 mark, Rahul, you could have history being created in Punjab. Because since 50 years, remember, no other party has won Punjab except the Akalis and the Congress. So what we could be seeing in Punjab today would be a slice of history.
Not just as the political grammar of Punjab being rewritten, but potentially the political grammar of states in the Hindi heartland, where AAP potentially emerges as a force, or at least an idea which can then find roots and be built on over time. That's one of the things to look out for. In Uttar Pradesh, the BJP now racing away into a substantial lead, 122 leads for the BJP in comparison with 69 for the Samajwadi Party, 26 down from 2017, the SP up 37, but the trend seems to be suggesting that Yogi Adityanath and the BJP are pulling away from the Samajwadi Party, and the gap is increasing.
And the reason why is the BJP is now 2-1 ahead in Awadh. In central UP, which is the heartland, Ayodhya, Lucknow, as you come into Sharad Pradhan's hometown. Sharad, your hometown is going at the moment towards the BJP. Central UP has become the fortress around which the BJP has constructed its UP empire.
Awadh and central UP, Awadh in particular was expected to go this way. And one knew that BJP is going to score very high here, and particularly in Lucknow.
But
Lucknow,
look at the trend coming in Western UP. This is Rahul Srivastav. You traveled the most. 57 to the BJP, just 20 to the Samajwadi Party, RLD 7, BSP 1. Heartland, epicenter of farm protests, epicenter, as you said, of all the anger, discontent. The Jat Muslim combine of Jayant Chaudhary along with Samajwadi Party, the Yadavs in Mainpuri, in Etawah. We've included Rohilkhand also within our wider map of Western UP. It is BJP all the way. BJP doing so well in Western UP, Rahul.
Rajiv, that was the problem the alliance between RLD and the SP had. There was an inherent problem.
What is it?
The transfer of votes from Samajwadi Party to RLD was an easier thing to do than the RLD to Samajwadi Party transfer was a difficult feat to achieve, because the Jats were ready to accept the vote of the Muslims but not ready to vote for a party which has an image of being a Muslim
Same thing happened
party.
with Mayawati and Akhilesh in 2019.
Exactly. The
where
transfer
Akhilesh was able to transfer his votes to Mayawati, but the BSP wasn't able to transfer his votes back.
Can I therefore say what I believe, and maybe Rahul Verma can take this. The contentious point is, the fact is that no one outside the Yadavs and the Muslims want Yadav Raj. The fear that the non-Yadav OBCs have, that the Jats have. The Jat Muslim scars of Muzaffarnagar are still there. Let's be honest. There is a subliminal subtext of anti-Muslim politics played out in places like Kairana in Western UP. You cannot go away from that, nor can you go away from the fears of Yadav Raj and so-called Muslim appeasement. Is that right or wrong?
Yeah, parties create social coalitions and they remain stable for a period of time. They don't create it out of thin air. So this social coalition, which is holding up for BJP in UP right now, was carefully created between 14 and 19.
What is that social coalition?
It's basically upper caste, non-Yadav, OBC and non-Jatav Dalits. And that's the combination they are going with. This time they are also making inroads among Jatav votes, which is, so BSP going down has opened the floodgates of its own vote.
Rajat Sethi, social engineering, is this Amit Shah, should Amit Shah get a lot of credit? Came to UP in 2013 as party chief at a time when the BJP was down and out. We forget 2012 BJP had just 15% of the vote. How does 15% become 45%?
No, absolutely. I think it's Amit Shah who sat there in UP, understood the absolute minute elements of how to do this social engineering, and that is largely stuck. And a lot of news channels were actually saying that there is an OBC out-and-out revolt with these leaders moving out of the BJP fold and going into other parties. But look at the trends. I mean, none of that has actually created any dent. So what you can see here is classic Yogi Adityanath's thing, that it's an 80-20 thing. 80% people will come out and vote for us. No caste sort of arithmetic is going to play. It will be a sweep one
Yes,
way.
Rahul Srivastava, quickly.
What the BJP has been doing, not just in UP and other places also, that if you have one very dominant caste which dictates terms to political parties, it tries to break the stranglehold of that dominant caste. See in Haryana what they did,
Yes.
for example. In Maharashtra what they did. Eventually in UP, that's what Amit Shah has done, is that if there is a Jat vote, it's not sizable in numbers, but in domination in terms of a coalition with Muslims. They have created that alliance with these smaller groups like, what I say, the Pasis, the Pals, the Kashyaps and others, and brought them together.
Because
there is a social rivalry between the Yadavs and Muslims and these subcastes, and that's what is working.
That's essentially it. A sociologist has pointed out to me, go and see the land registrations that took place by the Yadavs when the Yadavs were in power. And you will find the story of UP. Go and see the number of people appointed at lower levels in various jails in UP. How many of them were Yadavs, how many were non-Yadavs? Some were darogas, inspectors, sub-inspectors. It created a backlash. Amit Shah, to his credit, recognized, and I think Rahul has hit it, that when there is a dominant caste, let's look at what the other castes, how can we consolidate them? And they have successfully achieved
The
that.
same thing happened in Bihar as well. Exactly the same thing.
Absolutely.
Where, because of the Yadav Raj of Lalu Yadav, there was a pushback amongst the non-Yadavs, non-Muslims, which allowed the BJP, JDU to do well, despite there being visible anti-incumbency.
Yes.
No,
But this-
what I was saying was when you talk about, so traditionally if you look at it, if the Samajwadi Party, RLD, was trying to cultivate the Jat vote, look at the map right now, where the Jat population is most dominant, Bagpat, Muzaffarnagar, all those areas are being swept by the BJP right now. This is Kairana, Shamli, this is the area where they thought they were going to make inroads. What's surprising to me is a place like Saharanpur, which has a huge Dalit population, the Samajwadi Party is leading there.
You see, the two groups, and again I'm being politically incorrect, that are being squeezed out. Muslims, not a single ticket was given by the BJP. There was a message in that. And the fact is that the Yadavs themselves tried to give non-Yadavs the maximum tickets this time, non-Yadav OBCs. But Akhilesh is still carrying the baggage of being seen as a Yadav party. So when you carry the baggage of being seen as a Yadav Muslim party, it's not possible to change it
In an
overnight.
interaction
But
we had
even
with the
number
Home
of
Minister...
Muslims he reduced. Akhilesh reduced the number of Muslims that he fielded.
In an interaction we had with the Home Minister, he made this point that when there is polarization, which you keep talking about, don't forget counter-polarization. If the Muslims and the Yadavs are getting together in that society, in that village, imagine what's happening to the other castes. And therefore, when people looked at rallies of Akhilesh Yadav, the crowd, the passion, the energy, they forgot how everybody else is interpreting this and saying, oh my God, if these guys come to power, then we'll be in trouble. And therefore, especially on the issue of women's security, in the issue of law and order, a magnetic pull for the BJP, reflecting at this moment in 138 seats for the Bharatiya Janata Party, 72 down from the last time, the Samajwadi Party at 69, up 34 from the last time. So the SP doing better, but remember, the gap was 14%. The Congress and the SP last time was 28-29%, the BJP at 41, the SP by itself was 22. So you got a huge gap at the starting point. So when you start with a disadvantage, and even if you look at the 2019 election, a big gap, the SP had a lot of catching up to do, the BJP had a lot of room to fall. So they could have fallen from about 50 downwards and still ensured that they were high enough to be able to do well, which is what seems to be happening at this moment.
A small point on some of the key candidates.
Yes.
If you look at your home state.
Yes.
Vijay Sardesai leading.
Okay.
Parikar's, the junior Parikar leading.
Utpal Parikar leading over Prabhu
Parikar
Sponsor,
leading.
early leads.
And Churchill Alemao leading. So key players who are in smaller parties are all
And
leading the
remember,
race.
Churchill Alemao is contesting this election on a Trinamool Congress ticket. Utpal Parikar is contesting as an independent. One of the big blows for the in Punjab will be one of the big stories is Captain Amrinder Singh is at the end of the road
It's
for the for